All right, today we're going to be talking about x and y intercepts. And the first thing we need to know is just intercepts in general. So we have an x-intercept, and x-intercepts occur where a graph crosses the x-axis. And they also occur when y equals 0. So your x-intercepts are on the x-axis, and the value of y at that point would be 0. Your y-intercepts are going to occur where the graph crosses the y-axis and where x equals 0. And we're going to look at what that means in just a few minutes, but it's also very similar to when we were just plugging in numbers and finding points. So this is not going to be totally new, but we are introducing the idea of calling these things an intercept. So from a graph, when we look at this graph, we want to first look at where our x and y axes are. So we're going to be sure that those, if they're not labeled, that we really think about where they are. The x-axis is, of course, horizontal, and the y-axis is vertical. And then we're looking where this line crosses the x-axis, and the arrow there is pointing to where the line intersects the x-axis, and that occurs at 2, so the x-intercept is 2. And then we look at where it crosses the y-axis, and that arrow is pointing up to where that crosses the y-axis. And since that occurs at 3, the y-intercept is 3. When we look at a table, we have to really think about what's equal to 0 when these points occur. So we're going to locate when both x and y are 0. So we look there where the green circle and the blue circle are. Inside the green circle, x is 0, and inside the blue circle, y is 0. So for the point 0, 1, when x is 0, the y-intercept is 1 because when x equals 0, y equals 1. And then for the blue circle, we see that when x equals 1, y equals 0, so the x-intercept is 1. Your intercepts will not always be the same thing. They just happened to be in this case. Now, when we look at the next table, we're going to locate where our zeros occur. So we have the green circle is showing us when x equals 0, and the blue circle is showing us when y equals 0. And when y equals 2, x equals 0, so the y-intercept is 2. And when x equals 3, y equals 0, so the x-intercept is 3. And tables, you may not always have your zeros shown in there, and later we'll learn how to continue the pattern that's in a table and find those zeros. But for now, we'll be looking at tables that either have the intercepts there or they don't. All right? When we look at an equation, again, we're thinking about when x equals 0 and when y equals 0. So the first thing we're going to do is find the x-intercept. And to find the x-intercept, we have to let y equal 0. Now, this is like plugging in numbers and finding values. So we're going to substitute y into the equation. So now we have 3x plus 2 times 0 equals 6. We just simply put 0 in the place of y. And we're going to solve this equation now for x. So when we start to solve this for x, we have 3x, and then 2 times 0 is just 0. So 3x plus 0 equals 6. And then 3x plus 0 is just 3x. So now we have 3x equals 6. Then we're going to divide both sides by 3 and get x equals 2. And that tells us that the x-intercept is 2. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side to find the y-intercept, except when we find the y-intercept, we're going to let x equal 0. So we're going to substitute 0 in for x. So we have 3 times 0 plus 2y equals 6. Now we're going to solve for y, and 3 times 0 is just 0. So we have 0 plus 2y equals 6. And then 0 plus 2y is just 2y. So we have 2y equals 6. Now we're going to divide both sides by 2, and we get y equals 3. And that tells us that our y-intercept is 3. We can also have equations that are already solved for one variable. So here we have another equation. To find the x-intercept, we're going to let y equal 0. And when we do that, we get 0 equals negative 2x minus 3. Now, as we start to solve for x, we're going to have to add 3 to both sides. So that gives us 3 equals negative 2x. And now we're going to divide by negative 2. And that gives us negative 3 halves equals x. And that tells us that the x-intercept is negative 3 halves. Or if you wanted to express that as a decimal, it's negative 1.5. Now, to find the y-intercept, we're going to follow the same process, but we're going to let x equal 0. And so we substitute and we get y equals -2 times 0 minus 3. If you notice, when we try to solve for y in this equation, we don't really have anything to solve for. We're really just evaluating the side where x is. So -2 times 0 is 0, and then we're going to simplify that. So 0 minus 3 is -3, and our y-intercept is -3. That should say -3 there, not +3. Sorry about that typo. All right. Now, summary. To find x-intercepts, we're going to let y equal 0, substitute 0 into the equation for y, and solve for x using inverse operations. And to find y-intercepts, we're going to let x equal 0, substitute 0 into the equation for x, and solve for y using inverse operations. All right, you'll have some practice with this. Hopefully it's not too bad. It's very similar to the stuff that we've done before, and good luck.